She was gasping for air. Her hands clutched her chest, fingers curling like dying leaves. I ran to her, screaming her name. But she couldn't answer. Her lips were turning blue. I pressed my ear against her chest, desperate for a heartbeat. Nothing. I killed her. Not with a knife. Not with poison. But with something much, much worse. Welcome back to EcoNightmares, where we unveil the true horror stories of nature. Tonight, we bring you a true nightmare happening to us right now in our homes. The smoke that kills. I grew up in a quiet little town in Philippines. A place where life moved slow, where neighbors knew each other, where dinner smelled like wood smoke and spices. My mother cooked every meal on our traditional stove. It sat in the corner of our kitchen, glowing like a small fire god. The fire cracked and popped, sending up swirls of smoke that curled in the dim light. I used to sit beside it, watching her stir the pot, feeling the warmth wrap around me like a hug. I thought it was safe. I thought it was normal. Until she started coughing. At first, just little ones. A scratch in her throat. Harmless. Then, they got worse. She'd cough for minutes, her whole body shaking. She'd hold her chest like something inside was clawing to get out. At night, I'd hear her from my room. Deep, heavy, awful sounds. One night, I woke up to something different. Not coughing. A choking sound. I ran to her room and found her sitting up in bed, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. Her hands clutched the bed sheets, her mouth opening and closing like she was trying to breathe, but the air wouldn't come. "Mama," I whispered. She looked at me, her lips trembling, and all she could say was, I can't breathe." We went to the doctor the next morning. Test after test. Scan after scan. I sat beside her, watching the doctor's face as he looked at the results. His expression changed, just for a second. A flicker of something. Then, he sighed and turned to us. "It's her lungs," he said. "They're failing." I shook my head. "No, she doesn't smoke. She doesn't work in a factory." "How?" The doctor folded his hands. "Tell me about your home. Your kitchen." My stomach twisted. I told him about the stove. He nodded slowly. "It's the smoke," he said. "The pollution?" I blinked. But it's just a stove. We've used it forever. Everyone does." He sighed. "It's been poisoning her for years." Poison. The word echoed in my head. I thought of all the times I sat by that stove. The smell of the smoke. The way it clung to our clothes, our hair, our walls. The way it floated through the air, curling around us, slipping into our lungs. I never questioned it. I never saw it. But it had been watching us. It had been waiting. We switched to a cleaner stove. We opened the windows. We did everything the doctor told us to do. But it was too late. She got weaker. She stopped cooking. She stopped walking. One night, I woke up to silence. Too much silence. I ran to her room. She was gasping for air. Her hands clutched her chest, fingers curling like dying leaves. I screamed for her, for God, for anyone. But she couldn't answer. Her lips were turning blue. She didn't make it. I held her hand as she took her last breath. And for the first time in my life, I smelled the smoke on her skin. Not the scent of food. Not the scent of home. The scent of death. If this story resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and share. Pollution doesn't need to be outside. It doesn't need factories or cars. Sometimes, it's inside your home. inside your lungs. And by the time you notice, it's too late.